Millionaire woman receives a hug by mistake from a poor man, then realizes she's in love. Catherine Montgomery adjusts her Hermes scarf against the bitter December wind as she strides down Fifth Avenue, her designer heels clicking with the precise rhythm of someone accustomed to controlling every aspect of her environment. At 39, she commands a financial empire worth over $200 million, built from a series of strategic real estate investments that transformed Manhattan's skyline over the past 15 years. Her routine is as meticulously planned as her business dealings. Morning coffee at exactly 7:15 a.m. from the same upscale cafe, where the baristas know to have her double espresso ready before she reaches the counter. Power breakfast meetings in restaurants where reservations are secured months in advance. Afternoon conference calls conducted from her corner office overlooking Central Park, where floor-to-ceiling windows frame her success like a living portrait. But Catherine's world is also profoundly isolated. Her relationships are transactional business partners who value her financial acumen, social acquaintances who appreciate her ability to write substantial charity checks, and romantic interests who are attracted to her wealth and status rather than any genuine connection. She has learned to navigate life through carefully constructed barriers that protect her assets and her emotions with equal efficiency. This particular Thursday afternoon finds Catherine leaving a board meeting where she successfully closed a deal to acquire 3 historic buildings in Soho. The victory should feel satisfying, but instead she experiences the familiar emptiness that accompanies even her most significant professional achievements. Success has become routine, predictable, devoid of the excitement that once drove her ambition. As she walks toward her waiting car, Catherine becomes absorbed in checking emails on her phone, mentally preparing for her next appointment. The sidewalk is crowded with the usual mix of holiday shoppers, tourists taking photos, and New Yorkers rushing to their own important destinations. Catherine moves through the crowd with practiced efficiency, her presence commanding a subtle respect that causes people to unconsciously step aside. 3 blocks from her office, Catherine's orderly world collides with chaos in the most unexpected way. David Chen emerges from the subway stairs, his face flushed with joy and his arms spread wide in anticipation. He's been working double shifts as a restaurant cook for 3 months to save money for this moment, his younger sister Amy's graduation from nursing school. Today, she's surprising him by arriving early from Boston, and they've arranged to meet at this exact street corner. David's life exists in sharp contrast to Catherine's carefully controlled environment. His apartment is a cramped studio in Queens that he shares with 2 roommates. His clothes are clean but worn, his shoes resoled multiple times, and his winter coat is patched where the fabric has worn thin. But David possesses something that Catherine's wealth has never been able to purchase: an unguarded capacity for joy and genuine human connection. As David scans the crowd for Amy's familiar face, he spots a woman in a navy blue coat who matches his sister's height and build. Without hesitation, he rushes forward with the enthusiasm of someone who has been counting down the hours until this reunion. The collision happens in slow motion from Catherine's perspective. One moment she's absorbed in an email about quarterly profit projections, and the next she's enveloped in the warm, completely unexpected embrace of a stranger. David's arms wrap around her with such genuine affection and relief that for several seconds, Catherine doesn't resist or pull away. The hug is everything Catherine's life lacks: spontaneous, warm, utterly sincere. David smells like kitchen spices and laundry detergent, scents that are foreign to Catherine's world of expensive cologne and designer fragrances. His coat is rough against her cashmere scarf, but his embrace carries an emotional warmth that Catherine hasn't experienced in years. For those brief seconds, Catherine allows herself to lean into the unexpected comfort. Her phone drops to her side, forgotten. Her usual hypervigilance about personal space and professional boundaries dissolves completely. She feels, perhaps for the first time in decades, like someone genuinely wants to hold her, not Catherine Montgomery, the successful businesswoman, but simply her. The spell breaks when David realizes his mistake. He steps back quickly, his face flushing with embarrassment as he takes in Catherine's expensive clothing, her perfectly styled hair, and her expression of startled confusion. This clearly isn't Amy. This is a sophisticated woman who looks like she belongs in boardrooms, not family reunions on busy street corners. David immediately begins apologizing profusely, his words tumbling over each other in his rush to explain the misunderstanding. He explains about Amy, about their planned meeting, about how Catherine's coat and height matched his mental image. His apology is so sincere and genuine that Catherine finds herself more moved by his obvious distress than offended by the presumption. What strikes Catherine most is not the mistake itself, but David's complete lack of artifice. He doesn't recognize her, doesn't know about her wealth or status, and his embarrassment stems purely from having potentially made her uncomfortable. There's no calculation in his response, no attempt to leverage the situation for personal gain qualities. So rare in Catherine's experience that they seem almost foreign. As David continues his explanation, Catherine notices details that paint a picture of his life. His hands are calloused from kitchen work, but his nails are meticulously clean. His coat is old but carefully maintained. His shoes are worn but polished. Everything about him suggests someone who takes pride in himself despite limited resources. Someone who maintains dignity regardless of circumstances. Catherine finds herself unexpectedly reluctant to end the interaction. When David asks if she's okay, if he's caused any harm, she assures him that no damage was done. But something in her voice encourages him to linger rather than disappear into the crowd. Their conversation stretches beyond the necessary apologies. David explains about Amy's nursing graduation, his pride evident in every word. Catherine finds herself sharing that she's also expecting someone, though in her case, it's a car service rather than a beloved sister. The contrast between their expectations highlights the fundamental differences in their worlds. When Amy finally appears, Catherine observes the genuine reunion she accidentally interrupted. The joy between the siblings is unmistakable. They embrace with the same warmth David had mistakenly offered her. But now she can see the deep affection and shared history that motivates such open emotion. Amy is clearly curious about Catherine's presence, and David explains the mix-up with characteristic honesty. Amy thanks Catherine graciously for being understanding about her brother's mistake, and Catherine surprises herself by saying it was actually the highlight of her day. As the siblings prepare to leave for their celebration dinner, David turns back to Catherine one more time. He asks if she's sure she's not hurt, if there's anything he can do to make up for the confusion. The question is asked with such genuine concern that Catherine realizes she can't remember the last time someone worried about her well-being without any ulterior motive. Catherine watches David and Amy walk away, their arms linked and their conversation animated with the easy affection of people who genuinely enjoy each other's company. For the first time in years, Catherine experiences a profound loneliness that has nothing to do with being physically alone and everything to do with being emotionally isolated. Her car arrives precisely on schedule, and Catherine slides into the leather interior that usually feels like a sanctuary. But today, the luxury feels hollow. The heated seats and privacy partition can't recreate the simple warmth of an unexpected hug from someone who asked nothing in return. During the drive to her next appointment, Catherine finds herself replaying the encounter obsessively. Not just the physical sensation of being held, but David's immediate concern for her comfort, his complete lack of pretense, and the way he interacted with his sister with such unguarded affection. That evening, Catherine stands in her penthouse apartment, surrounded by art and furniture that cost more than most people's annual salaries. But the space feels emptier than usual, lacking something she can't quite articulate. She realizes that in 39 years of life, no one has ever hugged her the way David hugged her with complete openness and without expecting anything in return. Catherine finds herself wondering about David's life, about his work in a restaurant kitchen, about the effort it took to save money for his sister's graduation celebration. She wonders about people who measure success in terms of family milestones rather than quarterly profits, who find joy in simple reunions rather than complex business deals. The chapter ends with Catherine making an impulsive decision that will change both their lives. Instead of moving on from the accidental encounter, she decides to find David again. Not to apologize further or to offer money or assistance, but because she needs to understand the source of the warmth and authenticity that felt so foreign yet so necessary in her carefully controlled world. Catherine spends the next 3 days in a state of distraction that her assistant notices but doesn't dare question. Board meetings blur together as Catherine finds her attention drifting to memories of David's genuine smile and the way he spoke about his sister with such obvious pride. She catches herself checking the street corner where they met, hoping for another accidental encounter that logic tells her is impossible in a city of 8 million people. Her attempts to locate David through traditional means prove surprisingly difficult. She only knows his first name and that he works in a restaurant kitchen somewhere in the city. Her usual resources, private investigators who can locate anyone with minimal information, require more details than Catherine possesses. The realization that she can't simply purchase a solution to this problem is both frustrating and oddly refreshing. Catherine's breakthrough comes through an unexpected source. Her personal chef mentions hearing about a talented cook named David, who recently helped cater a nursing school graduation celebration in Midtown. The connection is tenuous, but Catherine's desperation for any lead makes her willing to pursue even the most unlikely possibilities. The investigation leads Catherine to Rosa's Kitchen, a small family restaurant in Queens that specializes in authentic Puerto Rican cuisine. The establishment is everything Catherine's usual dining experiences are not: cramped, loud, filled with families sharing meals and animated conversations in both English and Spanish. The walls are decorated with photographs of community events and handwritten thank you notes from satisfied customers. Catherine enters Rosa's Kitchen feeling profoundly out of place in her tailored business suit and designer accessories. The other patrons glance at her with polite curiosity, clearly wondering what brings someone of her obvious affluence to their neighborhood gathering place. But their attention is friendly rather than hostile, and several people nod or smile. In welcome she orders coffee and a pastry, settling at a small table near the kitchen where she can observe the staff without appearing intrusive. The restaurant operates with the efficient chaos of a family business, multiple generations working together, calling instructions and jokes across the room, treating regular customers like extended family members. After 20 minutes of observation, Catherine's patience is rewarded. David emerges from the kitchen, carrying plates for a large family celebration, his face bright with the same warmth she remembered from their street corner encounter. He moves through the dining room with easy familiarity, checking on customers, refilling coffee cups, and sharing brief conversations that demonstrate genuine interest in people's lives. Catherine watches David interact with an elderly couple, celebrating their anniversary, with a young mother managing 3 small children, and with a group of teenagers sharing a pizza after school. In each interaction, he displays the same authentic warmth and attention that had so moved Catherine during their accidental meeting. David finally notices Catherine sitting alone at her corner table. His recognition is immediate and his surprise evident. He approaches cautiously, clearly uncertain whether her presence in his workplace represents a positive development or potential trouble. Catherine realizes she hasn't prepared what to say beyond finding him again. Her usual confident articulation abandons her as she struggles to explain why a successful businesswoman would track down a restaurant worker based on a 3-minute street corner encounter. The truth that his accidental hug revealed an emotional emptiness in her life that she's desperate to address seems too vulnerable to voice. Instead, Catherine mentions that she was in the neighborhood and remembered his description of the restaurant where he worked. She compliments the food and the warm atmosphere, comments that suggest genuine appreciation rather than condescending praise. David relaxes visibly, interpreting her visit as friendly interest rather than unwelcome. Intrusion. Their conversation unfolds naturally as David's dinner break allows him to sit across from Catherine's table. He asks about her work, and Catherine finds herself giving honest answers rather than the carefully crafted responses she usually offers. She describes the isolation of success, the way business achievements feel empty without meaningful relationships. To share them with David speaks about his own work with a passion that Catherine finds remarkable. He describes cooking not as mere employment, but as a way to bring comfort and joy to people's lives. He talks about regular customers whose preferences he's memorized, about adapting recipes for families with dietary restrictions, about the satisfaction of creating something that brings families together around shared meals. Catherine realizes that David finds genuine fulfillment in work that most people in her social circle would consider beneath their notice. His contentment stems not from external validation or financial rewards, but from the knowledge that his efforts contribute to other people's happiness and well-being. As their conversation deepens, Catherine discovers that David's life philosophy differs fundamentally from everything her success has taught her. He measures wealth in terms of relationships and experiences rather than bank balances. His goals involve helping his sister establish her nursing career and eventually opening a small restaurant where he can serve his grandmother's recipes to the community. David's dreams are modest by Catherine's standards, but they're grounded in genuine passion and commitment to others. He wants to create something meaningful rather than simply accumulate resources. His definition of success includes concepts like community contribution and family loyalty that Catherine's business training never emphasized. The most profound moment of their conversation comes when David asks Catherine about her family, her relationships, the people who matter most in her life. Catherine realizes she can't answer the question honestly without revealing the profound loneliness that her success has created. Her family relationships are strained by years of prioritizing business over personal connections. Her romantic relationships have been strategic rather than emotional. Catherine finds herself admitting to David that she can't remember the last time someone hugged her without wanting something in return, that his accidental embrace had been the most genuine physical affection she'd experienced in years. The admission surprises her with its honesty and makes her feel more vulnerable than any business negotiation ever has. David's response to her confession reveals the depth of his emotional intelligence. He doesn't offer pity or judgment, but simply acknowledges that success can sometimes create barriers to the very connections that make life meaningful. He suggests that wealth and status are tools rather than goals, valuable only insofar as they enable genuine happiness and contribution to others' lives. Their conversation is interrupted by the dinner rush, and David must return to his kitchen duties. But before leaving, he asks if Catherine would like to join him for a walk after the restaurant closes. The invitation is simple, free of agenda or expectation, offered simply because he's enjoyed their conversation and would like to continue. Catherine accepts the invitation, recognizing that this represents a choice between her established patterns and something entirely unknown. Walking through Queens with a restaurant cook isn't part of any life plan she's ever constructed, but it feels more appealing than returning to her empty penthouse. Their evening walk takes them through David's neighborhood, past small businesses and community gardens, through streets where people sit on stoops and children play games in small parks. Catherine sees a version of New York that her wealth has insulated her from, a city of families and friendships, of simple pleasures and shared struggles. David introduces Catherine to shopkeepers who've known him since childhood, to neighbors who ask about his sister's graduation, to children who wave from apartment windows. Catherine observes how David is woven into the fabric of his community in ways that her success has never allowed her to experience. As they walk, Catherine realizes that David represents everything her life lacks: authentic relationships, community, connection, and the ability to find joy in simple moments. But more than that, she recognizes that her feelings for him have evolved beyond curiosity or admiration into something deeper and more complicated. The evening ends with David walking Catherine to the subway station, ensuring her safe passage back to Manhattan. As they say goodbye, Catherine impulsively asks if she can see him again. Not at the restaurant as a customer, but simply as someone who has enjoyed his company and conversation. David's agreement is immediate and genuine. He suggests meeting in Central Park the following weekend, a neutral location where they can continue getting to know each other without the complications of their different worlds intruding. Catherine returns to her penthouse that night, understanding that she's reached a crossroads. Her feelings for David are undeniable, but pursuing a relationship with him would require fundamental changes in how she approaches life, success, and happiness. The story concludes with Catherine standing at her windows overlooking Central Park, contemplating a future that might include someone who values her heart over her bank account. She realizes that David's accidental hug had awakened something in her that wealth could never purchase: the capacity for authentic love and genuine human connection. Her choice becomes clear. She can continue living in isolated success, or she can risk everything she's built for the possibility of finding something infinitely more valuable. Catherine's decision to pursue love over security represents not just a romantic choice, but a fundamental redefinition of what constitutes a life worth living. The accidental embrace that had lasted only seconds continues to transform Catherine's understanding of herself and what she truly wants from life. In David's warmth and authenticity, she's discovered not just love, but the possibility of becoming the person she never knew she wanted to be. Catherine Montgomery, who had spent her entire adult life building walls around her heart, finally finds someone worth tearing them down for. The millionaire woman who received an accidental hug from a poor man discovers that the most valuable things in life cannot be bought, only given freely by people who love without conditions or expectations.
Thank you for watching this story unfold with us here on M&A The Story Unfolds. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new tale. We'd love to know where you're watching. Leave a comment below and tell us what part of the world you're joining us from. Your support means everything. See you in the next story.